Alright everyone, we start off today dispelling some of the astroturfing, orange man too old, orange man bad, orange man just not the same as he was in 2016. He can't win. You haven't heard that before 5 or 6 fucking times, by the way. The Uni-Party really tipping its hand with this and admitting that it is terrified of Donald Trump. And if you think that the Uni-Party, which is comprised of a bunch of war pigs and traitors that grift money, they fleece the public, they start wars and do all sorts of crazy corrupt shit. My overall thought about Trump has always been this. I can believe that Trump really is a Hitler-esque monster that combines absolute malevolence and one-dimensional insanity. Or I can believe that he really is attempting to do good, and that the people that I already know are corrupt to that level have just stonewalled against him because they're corrupt. I can't say that every banker in the country, most of the corporatists, the entire legacy media, the establishment, and the big tech billionaires all threw together to defend democracy after attempting to destroy democracy for decades at a time. I can't believe that that's the case, and therefore when I see that they all happen to one-mindedly despise one single individual and his inner circle, his entourage of MAGA Republicans, I have a feeling that it's not Trump who's the Hitler-esque one. That's just my own opinion. It's common sense, it's as plain as day to me, but you may agree or disagree. The Uniparty is still afraid of him though. Right now, the J6 committee is still bitching. They've concluded their final report and referred charges to the DOJ, 3 of which are meaningless, by the way. The only one there that matters is conspiracy to incite an insurrection, which is self-evidently not actually what happened and would fall flat if you actually indicted him. Even in a partisan D.C. Court, I don't think that it would work because the evidence just isn't there. You can't say that someone attempted to incite an erection when they were openly calling for calm. And that there is no public statement that would have triggered any form of violence if interpreted by a reasonable individual. Again, even Twitter was scratching its head, trying to figure out exactly how they could cast off what Trump said is against their own TOS. In the end, Vagina there had to construe American patriots as the rioters in order to get by their own TOS to ban the sitting president of the United States. It's interesting how few people remember that actually happened. Link in the description, though, archived of course. They're now attempting to coerce Congress into voting to bar Trump from ever holding public office again. I believe that what we're seeing with J6 is an attempt to dampen Trump in the primaries more than anything else. I do not believe that it is on their priority list to do a Giuliani thing. The FBI tips off the CNN news van, hey, you should be on this corner at this particular time out in front of the Mar-a-Lago because shit's going to go down. That is what they did with Giuliani and Roger Stone, variously, by the way. Again, corrupt, arguably breaches the Fourth Amendment, but, the government has a lot of money, so it's difficult to sue them and prove that they've actually done what they clearly did. I don't think that's what they want to do. It may come to that in the end. Towards the end of the campaign, Trump's won the primaries anyway. The economy is in shambles and he's 5 points ahead. They might actually pull the trigger. They might lean on the DOJ to actually do that. Them coming out and talking to Fox News or CNN and Liz Cheney saying that that's her wish is utterly meaningless. What this boils down to is that there is a multi-layered defense system that the Uniparty is creating to try to prevent a second-term Donald Trump. It scares them more than anything else because they know that he will actually attempt to go through with the things that politicians are supposed to promise when they run, but then they are supposed to abandon when they're elected. We see this from the Democrats. Look at the student loan debt forgiveness debacle or universal pre-K. How'd that work out for you, leftoids? You were completely hoodwinked. You were gobsmacked by the Biden admin. Bush did this, Obama did this, fucking every president does this. Even Trump backed off of a few of his proposals. It's just that the ones that he went through with were very popular, like, hey, maybe we should actually secure the border. Or at least try. You'll notice the Republicans were the main obstruction to that for 2 friggin' years before it actually had the votes to get $5 billion measly dollars for something important. Now we're throwing 45 big ones to Ukraine for absolutely no reason. We'll be talking about some of the gems in the budget omnibus later, I'm sure. Donald Trump terrifies them. Their first goal, he's already thrown his hat in the ring. He's leading in every poll that's aggregated. There was one poll that showed DeSantis within single digits recently. but it's a Cygnus poll, I think, is the polling firm. I haven't seen any polls by them before, so I'm thinking that the polling methodology might be an outlier. You know, when I compare it to literally every other poll from the recent period, that does appear to be the case. Doesn't really matter, though. Donald Trump has at least a good half of the Republican Party sewn up behind him continuously. So what they're attempting to do is focus on people who are, they lean towards supporting Trump. They want Trump to be the nominee. They're trying to convince them, therefore, not that Trump is bad, because they're not going to believe that. Not that Trump is evil, because they're not going to believe that. But that Trump has, number one, lost his mojo. You see them astroturfing that daily. They even do that through paid craptivists, like fake organic content creators. They've paid off a bunch of former Trump content creators, trust me, big ones, in order to flip on him. I see it myself. I'm talented enough with regards to linguistics to know what the fuck some of these people are doing. Not naming names, wink wink, but I think that a couple of names would definitely glow from the darkness if you were to think about it very briefly and look at the sudden sea change over the last few years in their commentary. That's number one. And number two, to hold the possibility of indictment over his head to make these people think, oh, I like Trump. I would love him to be president again, but it's risky. If we nominate him and then he gets indicted, then all hell breaks loose because then, you know, the Democrats automatically win. To make people afraid. This is Project Fear for the coming few years. This is what they're trying to do. In the end, I speculate that he will win the primaries anyway. Again, he has, I think, too much core support, and numerous states may attempt to shut their primaries down and just award him the delegates anyway, even if there is a beefy primary battle, because of his technical incumbency, and I'm sure that some of his people are pressuring state governments to do that now, state RNC fixtures. What's the problem? The GOP controls the Senate via McConnell, the House via McCarthy probably, and is almost certain to get Ronna McDaniels back as head of the RNC. The entire fundraising and propaganda apparatus of the political party known as the GOP is controlled by people who are never Trumpers. Maybe silently, like Mitch McConnell doesn't like to raise that specter in public too much, in private they all hate goddamn Donald Trump. And not because they legitimately blame him for our historic midterm loss. No, they know better. It was their own fault. They sabotaged it deliberately. It's because the liberals will let them stay on as the minor party and possibly the major party if they astroturf someone into the White House as long as they play nice with neoliberalism and globalism. Hence the omnibus bill that you see right now. I mean, again, the writing is on the wall. We can see this happening in real time. It's not even really a prediction. It's an objective observation of reality. Just so that everyone is aware, you're being fooled by the GOP Uni-Party right now. Don't even call them GOP or Democrats. They're just globalists. The neolibs and neocons are exactly the same thing, arranged into controlled opposition parties. This is why you had Obama v. Romney. No, it doesn't matter who wins. Bush v. Gore, it doesn't matter who wins. They're all exactly the same. The proposals are basically the same. 99% of the time they vote the same. They deviate only in cases where there is an objective right and wrong constitutionally, and then they tend to lean against the Constitution. So let's say he wins the primaries. They will continue, in my opinion, to hold this over his head. They will also attempt in the primaries prior to the general election, Mitch McConnell will be doing this behind closed doors, trust me, to try to pressure the states not to recognize Trump's technical incumbency, to go forth and have an actual bruising primary season. The Republicans will be the ones primarily engineering this. This is what you will see, in my opinion. Unless there's a huge shakeup in party leadership. I mean, McConnell is in his mid-80s, so he could pop a membrane any time. Good riddance, by the way, if that were to happen. I think that even most Republicans would breathe a sigh of relief to see the turtle retired from the battlefield at this point after the omnibus bill. But they will soon forget. Within a couple of weeks, they won't be talking about it, even if they were just robbed for $1.7 trillion. Because people have stupid little attention spans. Basically, especially in the TikTok era, their attention span's lower and lower. Politicians fucking love this shit. Anyway, they will attempt to pressure those states. And using the Democrats' reshuffling of the primary states for their party, they're trying to push like South Carolina to the fore, push New Hampshire and Iowa back, which, I mean, demographically within the DNC at least makes sense. The Republicans will use that basis as an excuse to say, you know what, we should do the same thing. Iowa is solidly Republican, it's much more rural and white than the rest of the country, and we need to be the party of the next century, so we have to shuffle it up too. Let's make sure that states in which Trump has less support go first. And we'll tell any state that tries to suspend the primaries that we won't accept their delegates. Or we'll push them to the back of the pack. And we'll give them breathing room. We'll let them restart their primaries if they see that maybe Donald Trump's not coronated after all. And then they will attempt to deny Trump the nomination. They will be pulling out every stop in the primaries, which is what they're good at. They're much better at honking primaries. I explained this in 2016. This is why Hillary lost, than doing anything meaningful in a general. Unless they do it in such a transparent goddamn manner, Bloomberg warning us in 2020, for example, about the red mirage that you would see on election night, they're reluctant to do that. The same is true of the J6 committee's findings. They are reluctant. They will engage in wanton political persecution of Trump that's doomed to fail to actually bring him into a jail cell, but they would rather not have to. It's a little too obvious. It's a little bit too edgy. It pisses off just a few too many people in the country and brings us just a little bit too close to the brink of something desperate happening. They'd rather not do that. They don't want to rock the boat. Rocking the boat destroys fortunes. It makes less money for their corporate and bankster buddies. They would rather not do that. So look for them to pull out all stops in the primaries, engage in wanton propaganda. The Biden admin, the McConnell Unipartyists, and the legacy media, along with some elements of big tech, will attempt to dogpile Trump. They will attempt to AstroTurf challengers, including DeSantis, who I will always state I do not believe is himself engineering anything, but they're trying to get him in. They're trying to get him in because so far he's the only person that comes within even an edge of a striking distance of Donald Trump support-wise. This is what they will do. And they are doing it because they are goddamn terrified of Donald Trump. You can call out some of those glowing ones for claiming otherwise. Sticks done told you so. That's about all. Peace out.